What's good, everybody? How's it going, nerds? How's everybody doing? Happy Friday the 13th to everybody. Welcome to the Movie Mass, the live Friday the 13th live commentary for Friday the 13th Part 4. We'll get cracking on that in just a little bit. I typically do like a, I don't know, 15 to 30 minute little preamble before I get into live commentaries anyway. I'll give everybody a chance to get in here. Friday the 13th. I mean, it's a fun day. We only got one last year. I like to watch a Friday the 13th movie live on YouTube every Friday the 13th, but we only got one in 2025. I think we're getting 3 this year. I think we're going to get one more later in the year. I'm sure somebody with the internet could tell me when. But yeah, so it's a good night, even if it's March and it's not really the summertime vibe that is right for Friday the 13th. It's still a good night. Anytime that it's an actual Friday the 13th, even if it's the middle of winter, you got to watch a Friday the 13th movie. And tonight, I'm drinking a little bit of this Second Fiddle. This is a Vermont IPA from Fiddlehead Brewing Company. And I have to admit, I'm a little worried about this. I bought this at the grocery store, I don't know, yesterday, maybe the day before. And as I was unloading, it fell out of my car. You know, I was pulling out the bags, and it must have been on the top, precariously placed by the idiot that they employ as a bagger for $7 an hour. I insist usually on bagging my own things, but sometimes I feel bad for these mongoloids, and I allow them to do some of my bagging. But this numbnuts must have put my beer at the, like, right on top of my eggs and bread. Let's like throw the cans of beer. And so anyway, this fell out as I was unloading, and I just thought, okay, I'm not going to drink that tonight, right? I'll save that for the stream in a few days. I'll drink it on Friday, and it won't explode on me. And then I went to get in my car this morning to run some kind of errand. I don't remember what I was doing, but the back seat, I noticed there was a little bit of beer. Some of the papers I had there that were underneath the groceries, there was like they were kind of soaked with beer, and I could smell beer. And I was like, damn, it must have leaked when I put it back. You know, I picked it up off the ground and put it back on the back seat for a minute while I was like unloading stuff. And so then I came, you know, I went and checked the fridge to see if this was leaking on the inside of my fridge, and it wasn't leaking. Apparently there's like a really slow leak right up here where the top is like dented up. Anyway, I'm a little worried that this is going to be flat. That's actually what I'm kind of worried about, you know. So we'll see. Here's the first sip. It's going down. I'll tell you if it's kind of gross from having been like partially opened by hitting the ground 48 hours ago. No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm going to be able to drink that one tonight, guys. 4K10 Revival, Brad, what's good, man? How you doing, buddy? I was telling Brad that he should come up and attend a convention in Boston. I'm about an hour and a half or so away from Boston, so I'm not a terribly long drive away from Boston. Certainly would be worth it for a day at like a convention. You know, Vinegar Syndrome being located there, their corporate headquarters is Connecticut, so they get around New England. I think they go to some conventions and they have like a big table, and so that would be kind of cool. I've often heard rumors that some of their out-of-print items are actually in print at their convention tables. Like, you can get stuff that has been long out of print from their website. You can go get like copies of The Keep and shit like that. Prince, what's up, buddy? How you doing, dog? What's good, playa? I tried to show my daughters Porco Rosso tonight. Friday is movie night at the Movie Mass household. It's like pizza and movie night. So, like, I'll either make some pizzas from scratch or we'll order some pizzas or some shit. My kids are young enough that, like, to be that age again, just like no taste whatsoever, just really poor taste. So they're like, I love Domino's. Like you'll take them someplace, get there's like amazing like wood fired like brick oven pizzas that are like, it's the best thing you've ever tasted because the ingredients are all like top notch, super fresh, super organic, super homemade. And they'll take one bite of that thing and be like, fuck basil. And they'll be disgusted by that. And then they'll look at you and they'll say, I really love Domino's. Like a cheese pizza from Domino's for $6.99 is like hot cuisine for them. They eat Lunchables. They prefer to eat Lunchables. So it's just, to be that age again, to be unaware of the finer things in life and to be able to enjoy things like Lunchables and Domino's. But yeah, it was movie night tonight, and I tried to show my kids Porco Rosso because I have had success in the past previously with other Studio Ghibli films. They have loved Spirited Away. They really love. That's like S tier for them. They really love Spirited Away. They loved Castle in the Sky. They loved Ponyo. Totoro was up there, but I don't think it was quite on the level of Spirited Away or Castle in the Sky. But they did like Totoro, and they did like Howl's Moving Castle as well. I haven't tried any of the, well, no, they liked Arrietty as well. I did show them Arrietty as well. So what is that, like a half dozen? I've shown them a half dozen Studio Ghibli films, and they have liked all of the ones that they've seen until tonight. I tried to show them Porco Rosso, and I guess there was just too much. So like a little dialogue heavy, and all the characters are adults. Whereas like with Spirited Away, Chihiro is a young girl, 10 years old or so. Castle in the Sky, they're not 10. They're probably, I don't know, 14, 15, 16. They're still young characters. They're still, I guess, relatable enough. For some reason, my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old could not relate to a middle-aged dude who got turned into a pig flying a plane around in a vaguely World War II era Mediterranean. For some reason, they could not get into that. Unfortunately, I'll try again in the future. I don't know if it was just too much talking, but if anybody in the chat, anybody at all has any suggestions for kids movies for like 6 and 3-year-olds that you think could catch them, I'm all ears. I am taking suggestions for films that my 6 and 3-year-old might enjoy. Bonus points if the movie is from my own childhood. What's good, Chase? How you doing, buddy? And I'm sure Chase actually probably has a half dozen suggestions for me. They didn't dig Short Circuit. Remember when I was in town and you and me went movie hunting at CD Warehouse, and I found that copy of Short Circuit on a region-free. The Blu-ray wound up being truly region-free. I tried to show that one to them a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't really digging Short Circuit either. I guess it was just, I thought they would dig like Johnny Number 5. I bet he was like quirky enough that they would dig him, but they did not, unfortunately, dig Johnny Number 5. It was a little too bad, but what can you do? I'll try again in another year or two. Yeah, this one is, Friday the 13th Part 4, to segue ham-fistedly back to the reason we're here. Friday the 13th Part 4, I think, is one of the greats of the franchise. I mean, any franchise that goes that long, that many films in the franchise over that many years, with so many different like creative professionals that are working on it, different in front of the camera, behind the camera. It's like a rotating, revolving door of creatives coming and going, directing, screenwriting, all of the stuff, producing all the stuff that you kind of expect for consistency's sake. What's a franchise that's maybe been a little bit more consistent? Maybe the last 3 or 4 Mission Impossibles? I don't know. Somebody in the chat will think of a fairly consistent franchise. Lone Wolf and Cub was a franchise that was fairly consistent. I know we're talking about a Japanese set of films from the 1960s, but even still, fairly consistent franchise where Friday the 13th is just kind of like different people all the time doing different stuff. And so you get kind of a different approach with each one. But I like to view the first 4 Friday the 13th as kind of a cycle. It's kind of you know, I don't think they had a plan, really. Let's be real. I don't think they had a plan, and that's the reason why it's kind of an inconsistent franchise. But I like to think that the first four, regardless of not really having much of a plan, it at least they found a direction for those first four, and they built up to part four, in my opinion, particularly with 2 and 3. Maybe not as much with 1, since Jason was not the killer and he was kind of retconned into being alive for part 2 anyway. But with part 2 and 3, you have this transition away from the real early 80s, kind of still has a very much of like a 70s kind of feel to it, because they were just so early 80s. This is like we're really getting into like 80s proper, like the styles, just the way the film was made, the way the teenagers are portrayed. You have like much more of an 80s feel with this one. And it's not, they hadn't quite gotten into the humor that they found with part 6. And I think they considered or continued some of the cheesy humor with 7 and 8, with them just being so outlandish that they're hard to take completely seriously. 6, 7, and 8 are their own beast, where the first 4, I think there's sort of a progression there. And I think this is sort of like the high water mark. I think because of that progression from a big jump from 1 to 2, but then 2 to 3 to 4, I think maybe the feeling of progression from 2 to 3 to 4 is also enhanced by the fact that each movie picks up where the last one ended. Like part 2 ends and part 3 picks up like right there. I mean, you see Jason get off the floor and he wanders down to the convenience store / home of those 2 weirdos, and steals the clothes, gets a wardrobe change, and kills a couple of people in 3D. I don't even think Homeboy had a chance to wipe his ass or wash his hands before he was killed by Jason. But anyway, part 4 picks up right where part 3 ended. Jason is lying, dead at the barn at Higgins Haven, and part 4 just picks up from there. They transport him to a morgue. He's not really dead, or he comes back to life. I don't know if you want to read in some of the retconned kind of Deadite kind of shit to Jason at this point. If you want to take a look at Jason Goes to Hell as a retcon going back all the way back to Pamela Voorhees, like resurrecting Jason with the Necronomicon, way back before the events of the franchise, then you might look at it as like, well, maybe he did die at the end of part 2, and he just kind of rises again, like he's got 9 lives or whatever. There's just no permanent death for him, like he gets to hell and then gets sent right back. That's certainly the way it seems in part 4. I mean, he's actually transported to a hospital where there are medical professionals who would certify like time of death, like check his vitals, his heart's not beating. You'd think they would hook him up to an EKG. That's pretty easy. Slap some leads on him, you know what I mean, and see if there's any heartbeat whatsoever. I mean, they don't even check the guy. They just throw him in the fridge. So anyway, you'd think that before putting him in the cooler at the morgue, that they would really double check, make sure the guy's dead, and perform any medical necessities if he wasn't quite dead. But they seemed pretty sure he was dead because they put him on ice. Anyway. Did you mention today, Chase, in your video today, which was your least favorite? I don't know if you mentioned it. For me, I don't know. I think it's maybe 7 or 8. I know you're asking, Chase, but I think for me it's probably either 7 or 8. I mean, I think they both have a little bit of charm, but not nearly as much charm as what you get from the earlier, parts 1 through 6. And then even like, something like Jason Goes to Hell is just so grotesque and over the top that it's a lot better, in my opinion, than 7 and 8. They're just 7 and 8 are just so gimmicky. It's like Jason fights Carrie and then Jason goes to Manhattan. And so I find them both to be they're just built on a gimmick and then executed poorly. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that they disliked Johnny Number 5. I think that as a character, they would enjoy Johnny Number Five. I think Johnny Number Five doesn't have a lot of. I mean, they only made it through the first, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes of the movie, maybe 15, and it takes a few minutes just for Johnny Number Five to even like come to life, right? Um, and then once he does, the focus is a lot for those first 10 or 15 minutes. The focus is a lot on the military and the scientists who created Johnny Number Five, and them realizing that he's like going rogue or whatever. So, I just don't think they let it get to the good part, really. I think if they sat there and paid attention, they would get past that hump of the beginning of like getting the exposition and learning what's kind of happening, and then get to like the fun part. So there's like a little activation energy to get them through a movie. It's sort of like a chemical reaction where you have to put a little in to get it to go. But once it goes, it increases the entropy and everything's good. It'll go in that direction, but you just got to put a little work in first. But yeah, takes Manhattan. Part 8 is pretty bad, because he's not really in Manhattan a whole lot. He's in Manhattan for really just a short period of the film. It's more on a boat than anything else. And then once he's in Manhattan, he actually encounters quite a number of people that he doesn't kill. It's kind of odd that, if you take somebody like Jason, who would normally just murder anybody he comes across, that's been his MO up till that point, and then he's just walking through New York. He's like walking down the sidewalk of Times Square. Granted, it's at night, but even at night, I mean, it's the city that never sleeps for a reason. There would be like, he wouldn't get anywhere. He couldn't get 100 yards down the street. I mean, he couldn't go 2 blocks because there would just be so many people around him to kill, that if he's just going by proximity, I mean, he's killing all the people close to him and then moving a little bit to kill more people. And I mean, the body count would have been so astronomical that it really would have become a pretty silly movie if he just started killing everybody. The cops would have all shown up, and, they would have blown him up like they did in Jason Goes to Hell. Okay, so Mr. Guitar Zombie, Mr. Zombie, are you saying that part 5 is your least favorite? And if you are, is it because our man's was singing in the outhouse? Because I'm going to jump right in and defend him. That was kind of a bop that he was singing. Like every time I watch part 5, like I'm like, I'll get like 3 or 4 of these deep, and I'll be like going upstairs after part 5 is over, and my wife's asleep, my kids are asleep, and it's 1 in the morning. I'm like, ooh, baby. My wife is like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to sleep. I'm like, ooh, baby, ooh, because it's in my head. I mean, for like 2 words, it's just ooh and baby. But he stretches it out for a couple of minutes, and he kind of turns it into a bop. Like, I would have liked to have heard the rest of that song, honestly, because I think it would have been good. It's just too bad he got killed before giving it to us. So, yeah, I like Goes to Hell as well. I like Jason Goes to Hell. I think, yeah, that one's a pretty average one. I put Jason Goes to Hell somewhere around, part 5, where it's got its charms. I also appreciate the complaints about Jason Goes to Hell, where it's Jason, I guess, like the spirit of Jason is possessing people. So like, yes, it's Jason, like his essence, but like the physical form is not Jason for very much of that movie. So I understand why people kind of complain about that, and like the idea of him like body hopping kind of came out of nowhere. There's really no precedent for that in the series. He was just kind of a zombie and for some reason didn't decompose, despite being at the bottom of a lake for years. But anyway, Freddy versus Jason, I'm going to admit to you guys something. I think I've only seen Freddy versus Jason 1 time since the theaters. So I saw it in the movie theaters. Of course, went to go see it in the theaters when it was brand new. But then I think I saw it 1 time. I used to have Hulu. I actually used to have my buddy's Hulu login. So I used to log in as my buddy and steal Hulu. And I watched it, I think, 1 time on Hulu. I don't know, a while back, some years back. And I've only seen it those 2 times, and I don't think I was sober either time. So, um, I need to revisit Freddy versus Jason. I was really hoping Arrow was going to release the Freddy versus Jason the way they did Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, and the Friday the 13th remake with the split down the middle and like two distinct halves of Jason's head. I was very much thinking that they were going to continue with that graphic design, and one half would be Freddy and the other half would be Jason. And I kind of thought that's where they were going with this. That's what they were building to. But Arrow sure does not know how to strike while the iron is hot, do they? Arrow is not great at like getting on it, because it has been, what's it been, like 2 years since they put out the remake, and I don't know, like almost a year, 10 months since they put out Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell. So you would think that they'd want to release these films in pretty quick succession, get them out there while people are talking about them, because people will forget. If there's anything that I've learned about the physical media community, just from being kind of terminally online in the physical media community, is that the memory in the physical media community is pretty short. Like there's like something's hot shit. There's a release that is like hot shit for a little while. Maybe recently it was the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, Steelbook box set. That was hot shit for a little while, and you saw tons of posts online, tons of videos on YouTube where people were discussing it, showing it off, unboxing it, etc., reviewing it maybe to talk about special features and what the 4Ks looked like and such. And then it just kind of goes away, and it's not even like it trickles out and there's still people every now and again. It's like just gone. Like a month later, it's just out because there's something else on the horizon, whether it's hot shit a week ago was the Dollars trilogy being re-released by Arrow in a limited edition set of the 3 films together. That was a big topic a week ago. So it just seems like very short kind of, there's something's hot for a brief period of time, but there's always another release coming down the pike. So I feel like Arrow should have capitalized on that with Freddy versus Jason. I mean, if they were going to, and it seems like, if they've licensed the other Friday the 13th stuff, the 2 movies before Freddy versus Jason and the movie after, you're just kind of missing that one right there that goes in between Jason X and the Friday the 13th remake. It seems like, why wouldn't they have licensed that? Of course they licensed that, right? It makes no sense for them to license the 3 that they did, but not Freddy versus Jason and fill that gap in. So I'd like to see that get released sometime soon, though. Like, come on, while I'm still middle-aged, people. What Platinum Dunes horror 4K do you think, besides the Freddy versus Jason, what Platinum Dunes 4Ks do you think they might release, Brad? What are you thinking? Do you have any in mind? Are there any in your heart that you're wishing for? I agree a 4K box set would be nice, akin to the Blu-ray box set that Scream Factory gave us. I think that was a very handsome box set, and it was very impressive, the effort that they went to get them all together. Unfortunately, I don't really see that happening again. I mean, it was kind of cool that Scream Factory was able to pull that together and make it happen, but it also feels like the franchise is kind of splintered off again, with Arrow doing several 4Ks for everything, 90s on, everything in the New Line era. And it seems like Paramount, under their Paramount Scares sublabel, their like horror imprint, I should say a horror imprint probably sounds better than sublabel, but Paramount Scares, their horror imprint, seems to be the one releasing all their 4Ks, and right now it's just part 1 and 2 that have gotten a 4K. And I gotta say, I'm a little peeved about that part 2 4K because there's no Steelbook. when they released part 1 on 4K, they did a limited edition steelbook that had that slip cover with the eye real close. That was pretty cool. I liked that a lot. And then part 2 comes out, and I'm hoping for a steelbook. When they finally did the solo release, I'm hoping for a steelbook, and I'm also hoping for some kind of custom art slipcover for the sake of consistency and to give us some like new kind of sick artwork. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It hasn't happened. We just got a slipcover version. And so I haven't bought part 2 yet on 4K because I want to be consistent with my fucking releases. Like, my hugest pet peeve in the entire world, besides watching holiday films at the wrong time of year, my biggest pet peeve is when the packaging doesn't match and they're released by the same people. Like, come on, it's Paramount Scares. Like, give it all to the same graphic designer. I imagine Paramount has like several graphic designers that they work with, that, you know, vendors or freelancers or maybe even in-house people, but just make sure that the same person designs all of the spines and you give me a consistent release, which they're not doing. But I don't think we'll get a 4K box set just because it feels like Paramount wants to release the first 8 on 4K. And, you know, maybe there's a future where they've released the first several on 4K. You know, maybe they're only interested in releasing the first 4 on 4K because sales kind of drop off. They decline with each successive release, and maybe, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, especially 7 and 8 are just maybe a little bit like, Paramount's not interested. Maybe at some point Paramount will have done all the 4K releases that they're interested in for that franchise, and then they'll license it out to Arrow or back to Scream Factory or somebody to do like a 4K box set of all of them. But right now it just seems like the rights for Friday the 13th have always been a bitch, though. That's why we're getting a show called Crystal Lake. I don't think they can call it Friday the 13th because somebody owns the rights to the title Friday the 13th, and then some other person owns the character of Jason Voorhees, but the other dude owns Pamela Voorhees. So it just seems like nobody wants to, you know, get together and play nice, and it's like, you know, what can you do? That's what my daughter's taking to say. She's like, what can you do? I don't know if I showed her too many episodes of Sopranos or what, but she's like, what can you do? She does her best Tony Soprano. Like, what can you do? I got to go to the doctor. I got strep throat. They got to give me the swab in my throat. I don't like it. It makes me gag, but what can you do? Yeah, the Nightmare remake is going to hurt me a little bit because I'm going to feel compelled to buy it as a completionist. But I'm with you. I don't really dig the remake. I saw that one in the theaters. Or did I? I think I saw it in the theaters. I saw it when it was brand new. I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theaters. It was like, okay. I thought it was all right back then. I think it's harder to recast Freddy Krueger because there's just so much of that is like vocal performance as well. And it's strange seeing and hearing a different person do that. Whereas with Jason, it's like you just need somebody like giant. You just need somebody like Frankenstein sized, and then, you know, you put a mask on them. So there's a lot less of that, you know, distinct characterization there. Jason is just more replaceable from an acting standpoint. But Freddy was weird not seeing Robert Englund. But I recently rewatched it. I want to say maybe last Halloween. It was on, I don't know, it was on one of these, like, you know, AMC does the Fright Fest or whatever for Halloween. So this was just last year, I think. And I caught it on TV. I subscribe to YouTube TV in the fall so that I can watch college football and watch my Georgia Dogs play. And I remember catching it because I've got YouTube TV, so I figure why not see what horror movies are on in October. And I remember catching it and just watching part of it, maybe the last hour, and just thinking, this sucks. Like, I had recently rewatched the 4K of part 1, like the OG Nightmare on Elm Street. And so maybe, I don't know, it was a year later, but watching the remake, I was like, this is such a piece of shit. So, well, Shout Factory, yeah. I mean, I think folks have observed on the internet that Shout really seems to be leaning into their Hong Kong Cinema Classics line. I think that line is selling well for them. If Hard Boiled is any indication, it's selling quite well for them. I think maybe the other titles aren't selling quite as well as something like Hard Boiled, The Killer, A Better Tomorrow. Those are probably your real primary, like, high demand sellers. But even stuff like the Swordsman trilogy, you got Jet Li in there. City on Fire, you got Chow Yun Fat in there. I was in Bull Moose the other day, and I saw a used copy of City on Fire with the slipcover for $20, $20 or $21, which is not bad at all, because I don't believe you can get the slipcover online anymore. I think if you order the City on Fire from Groove, it's not going to come with a slipcover. So I already had it. Otherwise, I would have bought it then and there. But irregardless, yeah. It's a good way to try to make yourself sound smart, but not really sound smart. So I think with Friday the 13th Part 4, we'll get cracking on that here in a second. Obviously, I've got to cover it up for YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube is oppressive, and they don't recognize or respect my right to fair use and the transformative value that I add with my commentary. So I do have to cover the image up. I'm sorry for those of you who, like, this is your first time and you're not used to it. But look, at least I'm putting the damn thing up on the screen. So we'll get cracking on Part 4. I think, like I said, Part 4 is sort of the culmination of that early cycle of Friday the 13th films featuring a quasi-human Jason. I'll at least say quasi-human, because you might accept that he was sort of a deadite all along, and that his mother used the Necronomicon, many years before the inception of the series to bring him back from the dead. And so that would certainly explain how he's able to survive what he survives in parts 2, 3, and 4, especially given that there's really no time for him to recover between the films. It's not like there's a year in between. Like in the Halloween films, they have like a year baked in. They do a Halloween movie, and then the next Halloween movie, very seldom do they continue from that first night. Usually they keep it contemporaneous with the year in which you're watching the thing. So Michael Myers pretty much automatically gets time off between Halloweens, and you don't imagine that Michael Myers is doing very much. He's not disguising himself and, like, going out to the movies or, like, walking around a mall or something, like getting a job as a greeter at Walmart or something. I do like to imagine what Michael Myers gets up to for, like, the other 364 days out of the year. It's got to be pretty boring just sitting in the sewer, like, looking at the ceiling, waiting for somebody like Corey to stumble on in. But what I'm trying to say is that Michael Myers gets a break. He can heal. You can, make up some. Yeah, he pretty much slept for a whole year. The guy's got all his strength back. He was eating sewer rats and whatever garbage he could and whatever. But with Jason, especially 2, 3, and 4, there's no real time for him to recover. He's injured in all of the films. He's stabbed in the leg. He's stabbed in the sort of neck trapezius region. He takes an axe to the head, takes a whole axe to the head in part 3. And you have to appreciate how deeply that axe is embedded, because when he takes the axe to the head, he starts coming after, what's her name, at Higgins Haven. He starts coming after her, and the axe handle is coming forward because it's a 3D movie. So the axe is embedded so deeply inside his skull that it stays there when he starts moving around. The axe handle is sticking out. So you have to appreciate that axe has to be in there pretty deep for him to survive that wound and then do everything that he does in part 4 with zero medical treatment to that wound. Remember, he does go to the hospital, but they don't treat any of his wounds because they presume that he's dead. There's no point in, like, sewing him up and putting him on IV and anything like that, giving him antibiotics or anything. He's just dead. So you have to appreciate that maybe the Necronomicon retcon is even hinted at somewhat by his extreme durability. At least parts 6 and 7 and 8 can explain his durability by him being essentially a zombie. He's undead, and so therefore shootings and stabbings and stuff like that won't kill him. He has to be killed in some other, maybe more meaningful and supernatural method. But I think part 4 is a good culmination of sort of what they built up to. It is one of my more favorite. I like part 6 a lot as well. I just like the kind of cheesy humor, and they really dial the 80s factor up to like 11 for part 6. So it's hard for me not to appreciate that. Being a young boy when part 6 was new and on TV a lot, that was one that really drew my attention quite a bit. So part 4, again, it's up there. It's probably in my, top tier of like the best couple of Friday the 13th movies. And so I will try to give you guys a good commentary of it. If you guys are watching at home, it is almost time to push the button and hit play. I'll count down for you guys. And we'll go ahead and get started here in 3, 2, 1, and hit play. Let me know in the chat also how the volume is on this. I'm thinking you're going to be able to hear the output. I did make some changes to my my software so that I could monitor the audio a little bit more directly. And so let me know if the audio is whack for any reason, because I'll try to fix it on the fly here if I can. But if the audio is cool, then, thumbs up. Tell me audio is cool. One thing I like about these first couple of Friday the 13th sequels, 2, 3, and 4 all do this. They show the flashbacks. And 3, I think 3 is the worst. I think the worst offender, because they show it's like a 84-minute movie, and the first 15 minutes is all flashback. It's wild. Was that me? The spoilers for Jason Goes to Hell?
Is he dead too?
I did mention the Necronomicon, but I think that's all I mentioned. And that's just like a little Easter egg, too, so... Also, the movie's like 30 years old now, right? It's like 30 years old.
Disappeared 2 months later.
What did it come out, like 93? So it's like coming on 33 years.
Legend has it that
Anyway.
Jason saw his mother beheaded that night.
Oh, hey, you know what? I did mean to bring those up, and then it slipped my mind. Vinegar Syndrome, of course, celebrated Friday the 13th today, too, with release of a couple of pre-orders, including a new slipcover for Unmasked Part 25, which I don't own, so I will at some point pick up. I'm going to give it time to hit a sale, and I'll try to get it for closer to $20. Because the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray will go for more like $20 if you wait to a sale, and Lord knows I like waiting to a sale. So, but the other one, what is the other one? What's the name of the other one? It's the one about the doctor who's in a coma for years and then wakes up and starts killing people. And that one looks kind of good too. I'll check them both out at some point, probably.
Jason's out there.
I guess it's just too good for them to reuse some of these clips. But it also does kind of remind you of some of the... There's the scene I was talking about. The axe stays embedded in his head. I was just telling you that he's moving forward, and that axe it's still in there. So, like, in order for that to stay in there, even as he falls to the ground, it's got to be in there pretty good. And I'm thinking that's probably pretty fatal. And, I've seen online some complaints. This is just so cheesy right here. Just ripping through the hockey mask is kind of cheesy, but I like it. I like how cheesy and kind of silly it is and how stupid it is. But I've seen online people complaining about the hockey mask, the discontinuity of the hockey mask from film to film. But I do appreciate that they keep that axe wound, in the mask. They keep that there. So like the damage that the mask accrues does tend to remain from film to film, which I appreciate. Although, Jason's appearance in every film is quite different. I mean, in part 2, he had a beard and long hair, for crying out loud. And then in 3, he's like, there's not a hair on him. He's like a hairless cat or some weird shit like that. And you can't imagine that he's shaving out there, because he's kind of a mongoloid. He wouldn't be shaving in that weird shanty that he has in part 2. So, and in this one, you know, he's just kind of purple. Like, he looks different. If you compare the images of his face, he looks quite different in part 4 as well. So I think it's kind of ballsy of them to start out with, like, you know, best of reel, showing Jason in these previous movies, because he's going to look a little different here, despite them picking up right where part 3 left off. Chris Higgins, that was her name. That's the name of the girl in part 3, the final girl who survives. You know, and she wakes up that morning, and the cops get there, and this must be later that night. You know, the cops have been there for some time. How's the audio? How's the volume? Oh, am I covering the chat on my screen? Let's see. Oh, yeah, because I got the movie taking up space. Let's see if I can just move this up to... I'm just going to move this on top because I don't want to make the movie smaller. All right, there we go. Here we go. I'll just try to... There we go. Just try to position that. I'm still perfecting my my layout for the live stream. I may get rid of some of the text on the screen just to kind of make more room for crap. I want the image to be as big as possible of the film itself, because when I release this to Patreon, I will naturally remove this cover, you know, and I'll just, you know, anybody on Patreon will just get the full view of the film while I'm yapping about it, and there will be no like fair use cover. I just do that cover for YouTube. And I also learned that YouTube is okay if you can kind of see through it and around it a little bit. They don't get too mad at me if you can see through it and around it a little bit. And they haven't gotten mad at me about the boobies yet. I keep meaning to take those down. Chase knows what I'm talking about. We watched Euro Trip, and I removed that fair use cover for the credits, but then we got some post-credit booby, and I done goofed. I showed boobies off on my YouTube, which is... I don't think that's the worst thing you could do in the world, but YouTube does not agree with me.
Yeah, they're all dead. You can pull it up over there.
All dead. Some emergency. Put her over there.
I don't even necessarily mind that. I mean, it's a good way to get people into the movie. You know, like the way they do with the James Bond films. They start out... That's funny because part 6 does have that, you know, James Bond kind of imitation at the very beginning. That sort of winking homage at the James Bond films with the barrel, you know, and James Bond shoots it. You know, a lot of the James Bond movies have that beginning that, you know, starts out in media res with James Bond on some kind of mission. Sometimes it has to do with the rest of the movie. Sometimes it doesn't. But it starts out with like a thrilling introduction of James Bond kind of in the middle of an assignment, doing something cool, kicking some ass, to kind of get you like hooked and pull you in. I don't think it's a bad way to go. I think doing that in the Friday the 13th movies is not a bad idea. Now, they're taking Jason off to the hospital here, and they've even got a helicopter. They must think that there's other people involved. If you got a helicopter, you know, they're shining that helicopter spotlight down. What are you doing with a helicopter? Like, usually the helicopter is used because they're chasing O.J. Simpson down the highway, or not just O.J. Simpson, but, you know, other people. They're chasing O.J. Simpson down the highway. And so you need the helicopter to keep up with the guy and keep your eyes on him when he's taking the turns and stuff, so you can tell everybody where he's going, and the cops on the ground can follow him. But when there's been a whole bunch of murders at Camp Crystal Lake and the perpetrator is presumably dead, I don't know, it seems kind of weird to have the helicopter out there. It's really the first time I thought about this, but we have this nice POV shot of Jason's ding dong. Watched a lot of porn use this particular framing and camera setup, but not a lot of Friday the 13th movies that you just put the camera right on Jason's ding dong. We're looking down at his feet, and I don't know. I don't think I could ever do this. The morgue guy, because he's just like, you know, setting a donut down on the dead guy and everything. and he just DGAF.
Well, she still is.
It always strikes me how much this guy looks like he's. Now, he's not really a doctor. He's like a porn doctor. Like, he's wearing a V-neck T-shirt, a white V-neck T-shirt under his lab coat, which I don't know if you've ever been to a doctor's office or the hospital, but they don't really do that. They usually wear like a shirt with a tie. They don't usually show off quite that much chest hair. And I mean,
Hey, what's the matter?
tissues are thicker than that guy's T-shirt. Like, you can see all of this guy's chest hair. And there's just something about that bedside manner that I don't really dig. But he's more interested in the sex anyway. It is almost more like a porn type of setup.
You got the curse?
If I do, you're it.
This guy's watching, like, he's got some spank material on, watching MTV or some shit. It enhances the 80s feel. I mean, I'm trying to remember the first couple of Friday the 13th films really kind of feel very, like, isolated in a way. Like, there's no television, they're just out in the woods. Like, there's barely electricity. And in this movie, you know, there's like sort of that connection to the real world. They're in a hospital. They've got cable television. The guy's watching like Jazzercise or some shit. Jane Fonda sweating to the oldies or whatever.
I'm so glad you could come.
Axel, you are the Super Bowl of self-abuse.
How's the volume sounding, guys? Is everybody all right with the volume? I'm guessing somebody would have said something. I don't know, man. I never could do the dead body. Like, just, you know, like resting your bagel on the dead body type of thing. Sign the paper and then, you know, pick up the bagel and just keep going about your day. He's very cavalier about death. He's about to get his head completely removed.
To watch the news.
We're still awaiting causative identification of the body, perpetrator's body. But to answer your question,
It's like Grey's Anatomy before Grey's Anatomy. Like, he's got something going on with the nurse and everything.
is at this moment in the Wessex County Medical Center morgue.
Yeah.
And they're ready to get it on right by the corpse, man. That's just
I don't believe you, Axel.
that's just a little bit weird. Like, the girl finally objects when the Jason's dead arm kind of flops and touches her on her booty. But like right here, it's not a problem. Like, she's closer to the dead body than she is to the dude she's trying to get it on with. And I don't know, man. I don't feel like I'd be able to concentrate. I'd just be like in my head about like, yo, dude, there's a dead body like right next to us. And he's murdered like 17 teenagers at this point before he died. And I don't know, like, I would be just thinking so hard about that I don't think I'd be able to get it up.
Jesus Christmas! Holy Jesus goddamn! Holy
I like it. I like his swearing. That's how I cuss in front of my children. I'm like, holy Christmas, Jiminy Cricket. My kids are like, just say the F word, Dad.
Good night, Axel.
Hey, where you
Just
going?
say the F word.
Tell you where I'm going. I'm going crazy.
That's a pretty terrible line of dialogue. I'll tell you where I'm going crazy. That's pretty awful. I mean, somebody wrote that down and thought that was a good idea to say that in the film. And this is where I kind of have a problem with this movie. I mean, this is a small regional hospital. I'll grant you that. I've been in some small hospitals before. I've done work in small hospitals before. Even small kind of regional hospitals, like this one would be kind of a rural, you know, Crystal Lake Hospital or whatever. Undoubtedly, it's not a huge hospital. They probably have to airlift people to a bigger hospital in a more metropolitan area when there's something, you know, really wrong with them. But I'm sure all the basic stuff can be done there. They've got a morgue. So it just strikes me as odd that, you know, he's going to kill this douchebag and he's going to kill the girl because, you know, he has to. They've shown the characters to us. We're just invested enough to want to watch them die. I don't really blame him for watching that either. That's awesome. But then he escapes the hospital really without any difficulty. And Oh, just twist that head right off. I'll grant you that hospitals are probably not what they are now in terms of security, back in the mid 80s. But even still, even in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, there's lots of people in a hospital. There's lots of patients, but there's also lots of staff. There's a lot of clinical staff. There's janitorial. There's security 24/7 at hospitals. It's just odd that she's just screaming bloody murder while being bloody murdered. And presumably Jason kills those two and then leaves the hospital without any other interactions with any other human beings. We'd have to imagine him murdering everybody at the hospital, like a Halloween Part 2 type of situation where Michael Myers is just killing everybody in the hospital, and that's fine with him. In this case, it seems like Jason killed those two people and then left the hospital without any further difficulties. And it just seems kind of odd that he would be able to do so. I mean, he's a large guy, kind of a mongoloid, probably spattered with blood, large axe wound in his head. It just seems weird that he would be able to leave a hospital without anyone noticing. He left two corpses behind. Presumably somebody finds those corpses in pretty short order, calls the police. The police notice that there's a body missing, and they know that Jason Voorhees has escaped. And you would think that then the APB goes out, other departments are called from local municipalities, maybe even federal assistance at this point, since this is like a multiple murder over the last 4 or 5 days. It just seems kind of odd that he kills a couple of people, escapes the hospital, and everyone's just like ho-hum. Like, these people wouldn't know, like the people that we're focusing on, but we don't really get like a B plot of investigators like finding bodies and saying, oh, Jason's escaped the hospital because the bed is empty, and where is he going? Is he going back to Crystal Lake? I mean, there's just really no sense of any kind of authority in this film at all. I do love this part too. Is there a rear windshield? Like, Crispin Glover's head is fully outside of that car, right? And then when it cuts to the back of the car from the exterior, it looks like they're inside the car again, and that there's like a back part to it, but they very much appear to be like hanging out the back of the car, which would be a great way to ride, in my opinion.
I did. I treated her right.
Not enjoying a liquid death tonight. I do like liquid death, but tonight I'm having a IPA, so watch Friday the 13th Part 4. And yeah, you gotta love the Doublemint Twins. I mean,
what the fuck happened?
One of the things that I am most grateful for having experienced in the 80s, I'm most grateful for having lived through that decade, is the Doublemint commercials. Because I don't think they make them like they used to. I see commercials nowadays when my kids are watching TV or something, and they just show the dumbest fucking commercials. And I'm like, kids, you don't understand the greatness. Like, double your pleasure, double your fun, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't get it. And they don't. We're about to get some Doublemint Twins. And they do go ass up. They do go ass up in that lake. And I love it.
What? A dead fuck? A lousy lay. You know?
Yeah, I probably have thought more about this, but it's also like, come on, man.
Yeah, well, there is no
You can't murder two people in a hospital and then escape scot-free, even in a small town. You know, you got sheriffs, you got county sheriff. You probably don't have a strong like municipal police force, but you got a county sheriff. Jeff, what up, dog? How you doing, my dude? Doublemint Twins. Did Chris Brown do a Doublemint song? I think they had to stop using it because he beat the shit out of Rihanna, but I love this part too, where they stop. I guess they're looking at the map or whatever, and you get the Pamela Voorhees tombstone, because it gives you a little bit of the hint to the canon, because her date of death is 1979. And that is, of course, when the first Friday the 13th was made. So we're assuming that it's like contemporaneous with, when that film was shot, if not released. And she was only 49. 1930 to 1979. I mean, she might have been as young as 48 if she hadn't had her birthday yet in 79, but 49 years old. Go back and watch Friday the 13th Part 1, and you tell me if Betsy Palmer don't look every bit of 76, bruh. That is not a 49-year-old broad. I mean, they were just built different back then. I love this. I love this lady. You know, she's very hippie looking. You know, she got the fuck you on the sign because she just doesn't even want to have, like, no lines of dialogue. She can't even scream fuck you. She just does the middle finger and then turns the peace, love. And that's sort of the juxtaposition, right? It's like peace, love, I'm a hippie, and then fuck you on the backside, which is kind of yin and yang, right? Like peace and love is the yin and the yang is fuck you. And then she's literally sitting right by the side of the road, which means Jason is just also right by the side of the road. Like, car passes by right now. Can you imagine? I like the banana like sloshing over, but can you imagine driving by and it's just like, you know, a giant mongoloid who may or may not be semi-undead, stabbing a hitchhiking hippie right through the neck. And you just right by the road, like doesn't even drag her away from the road to do the killing. Just does it right by the road, presumably leaving the body there. Again, there's a trail. Like, Jason is not Hannibal Lecter, right? So he's not like capable of this like extreme genius intellect where he stays 10 steps ahead of the FBI and federal authorities and stuff like that. Like, Jason is just kind of a mindless killing machine, leaving corpses in his wake. There's no attempt whatsoever to like conceal any of the shit he's doing. So
Gordon. Hey, Gordon. Where have you been, huh, Gordon? You've been
okay,
sneaking around.
the night slasher from Cobra slipped in. Yeah, okay, but now we're starting to talk about another like 80s logic movie, Cobra. Cobra's a film that I love, so if I say anything about Cobra, I don't want anyone to interpret it as me throwing shade at a film, because I do love how phenomenally stupid Cobra is. Like, Cobra is a phenomenally dumb movie in all of the best ways. I shouldn't get off on a Cobra tangent because I'll never talk about Friday the 13th again for the rest of this movie. It'll be the worst commentary ever because I'll just be bitching about Cobra the whole time. But yeah, that's another movie that just makes zero sense. There's so much about Cobra that's like, what the fuck am I even watching? It's like Christmas the first half of the movie, then they just forget it's Christmas at the end. And they go have like a shootout in the desert or some shit. It's just the dumbest. I mean, and I love it. It's stupid, but it's almost like dream logic. Like, watching Cobra is like dream logic. Like, nothing makes any sense. We're not even trying to make sense. We're just trying to have a little fun. So, yeah, that's kind of, I think that's kind of my thought, is like 49 in 1979 was like, you've been smoking since you were 7 and you've been drinking since you were 9. And you just, like, you lived a hard life. Like, there was no sunscreen. So, like, between the smoking and the drinking and, like, the lack of sunscreen, and you're out in the field, like, working and shit like that, like, they just turned into leather, right? I mean, Betsy Palmer looking old as fuck. I'm just saying. And y'all could look her up. I'm sure you could look up Betsy Palmer and see this girl is cute, too. She always reminds me of Jessie Spano from fucking Saved by the Bell.
Paul and I are taking the bedroom at the end of the hall.
She just has that sort of a similar look to her, where she just has this sort of innocent vibe, you know, but also kind of a similar, I just think physically kind of a similar look. It's too bad what happens to her, but she does smush her bare bottom up against the glass of the shower for a moment a little bit later, and I like that part. I like when she's in the shower getting it on with homeboy, and it really doesn't work physically to smush her butt up against the glass, because you can't get at the vagina with your penis if her butt is moving back like that and away. It really works best in the shower if they turn around and you stand behind the girl. That's how it works best in the shower. But even still, I have fallen out of the shower before, like in the shower with my wife. I shouldn't say this because this is terribly embarrassing for probably her and I, but we were showering together one time, and I fell. Boom. I just fell backward, you know, just having too much fun, I guess. And, you know, you get carried away and it turns into a slip and slide. And I fell backward and there was just nothing to catch. Like, you know, I tried the shower curtain is it's tearaway, it's breakaway. It's like pulling paper out of a notebook at that point. It didn't slow me down at all, and I just went boom on my ass, fell right out of the shower. And it was an embarrassing moment because my wife was just kind of standing there and I was just kind of laying there and she's just kind of laughing at, like giggling at me. And I was a little bit embarrassed, which is a rare thing for me. Look at Corey Feldman. He like trying to get a peek at them boobies and he's like pretending to be asleep when his mom comes in. Like, I don't think this is maybe a little bit like kind of realistic because like when you're 12, 13 and like you could see people having some sex like across the window, you're like, oh damn, like let me try and see a boobie. Like at least I was. So it's kind of realistic in that sense, the way he's sort of behaving right now as a character, but then almost unintentionally funny because like he hears mom coming in, he's like like just immediately pretending to be asleep. He's like, oh, I'm gonna see a boobie. Oh, mom's coming. You know, immediately just pretend to be asleep. Roll over so she can't see your heart on or whatever. Like, mom, don't tuck me in too tight because you're gonna see a little outline. Here we go. I love these wood scenes. Crispin Glover.
I should give Betty a call.
Oh, I can't wait for him to get killed because he's an annoying character. Dead fuck. What a silly thing to say. I don't think anybody actually said that, like outside of this movie. Dead fuck. Called each other dead fucks or whatever. I also dislike the look where you've got the top button buttoned, but no tie on. And it's a look that has come back recently. I've seen it a lot. Maybe not so much the last year, but I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I was seeing it a lot where people would have all of the buttons buttoned, including the very top. There we go. Doublemint twins. There we go. I can't tell them apart, but I don't want to either. I love the top coming off the shoulder. Very 80s, but also very timeless. Oh my gosh, you can almost see it. Reach down and pick something up off the ground again, baby. You almost had it.
I'm going back.
Almost flopped right out. Anyway, that is just such like a timeless look, that off the shoulder look, but still somehow like very 80s. And I think that's what I was saying before is that, you know, you have these styles like the way Crispin Glover has the button buttoned and no tie on. You got, you know, the shorts and the, like that guy's wearing a polo shirt, like tucked into gym shorts. I just noticed that. But so some of the styles, the fashions are very like 80s kind of like, did anybody really dress like this? Or was this just the way they dressed for movies and TV in the 80s? But this is what we saw very much in the 80s, where, you know, you go back to part 2 and all of the stylings were all very 70s. Part 1 even more so, where like everything everybody was wearing, they looked like they were out of the 70s, which they were. Here's where we've kind of blossomed into like the 80s sort of look to the, you know, the characters, the costuming, the set design, even with the video game, you know, the Corey Feldman playing the video game earlier. Here we go. Gotta love the rope swing. I was at a rope swing in Lake Oconee. Chase, you might be familiar with Lake Oconee in Georgia there. We got some family friends that had a lake house there, and we would go visit because it was fun. And so we had a rope swing. There we go. There we go. Is YouTube going to get mad at me? I think that was pretty well covered, but let me know if you saw like a little bit of booby. Because sometimes it's hard to cover up everything. And every now and again, a nipple will show through my fair use cover, but I haven't been slapped yet for that. But it's also probably why YouTube is terrified to promote my channel in any way, shape, or form.
Gordon, wait up! Gordon! Gordon, wait up! Wait a minute.
Well, there's a little booty for you ladies, too. Little dude booty. You got to be fair. You got to include a little dude booty. But anyway, when we were at the lake house in Lake Oconee, they had a rope swing at that lake. And I don't know who was maintaining this thing, but one of the girls that had come with us went for a swing on that rope swing. And it broke like mid-swing. And like she didn't fall in the water. She like smacked, like ass just smacked right on the fucking ground. So, I mean, she wasn't like a a long follower, but it obviously hurt. She was like, boom, right on her ass. And she was highly embarrassed too. So she just, beat red and her ass is hurting, but not even for the right reasons. It was just because she fell when the ropes went, like the fucking rope just totally broke. And I can laugh about it now in hindsight because I did not wind up marrying her. So that's, totally cool. She was a bitch and we can laugh about it. And it's already been established a few minutes ago in this film when Jason killed that hippie broad. When Jason killed the hippie broad right by the side of the road in broad daylight, it was established that Jason is kind of everywhere, including right by a road. Like you're not necessarily safe right there by the street. Like it felt like in the first couple, you had to wander into the woods a little bit before he was gonna murder you. He wasn't gonna do you like right in the middle of the street. You'd have to like wander off to the woods, like walk 50 yards in to take a shit or something like that, and then he would get you while you were trying to poop, and you were like, ooh, baby. And then he'd stab you, wouldn't even wait for you to wipe. There's a lot of, you think about it, there's a lot of people that Jason kills while they're pooping. Because he got that Harold dude in part 3, and I guess Harold got off the toilet, but he definitely wasn't done because he didn't wipe or wash his hands. He just heard the noise that Jason was making, and then he gets killed with poop still on his butt. It's yucky. But. Then he kills Reggie's older brother while he was honestly mesmerizing me with a bop on the can, trying to woo his lady while pooping. I love how he's like singing to his girl while shitting. Something I've never tried before, but also I'm just nowhere near as smooth as Reggie the Reckless's older brother. About to get pulled in the leg, bitch. It's a damn shame Jason be killing these girls. It's a damn shame when Jason be cutting up perfectly good titties like that. Got a little musical cue. That little kind of tells us that this is Jason, even though it's not. It's the guy whose sister was murdered by Jason in part 2, which was like 3 days ago in like movie time, keeping in mind that these movies like pick up right where the other one ended. So this movie's taking place, I don't know, like 4 days after part 2. So I've seen people online criticizing like, how does this guy hunt Jason down in such a short period of time? Like his sister was just killed in part 2, which was like 1 day before part 3, which was like 2 days before part 4. So seemed to have got out there pretty quick, but who knows? Maybe he was in the area.
Okay, give it a crank.
This is some 80s shit right there. Like, they cannot fix this thing, and the guy just pulls a knife out of his boot and like, I'm just gonna touch the engine with this knife. It's gonna create a spark, and then we're gonna get going. It's too bad he wasn't that useful when it came to fighting Jason. Like, they build this character up like, man, I'm after Jason. And he's like a young dude, athletic, perfectly well fit, not a smoker, not a drinker. He seems like he ought to be able to handle his own against Jason. He can start a car engine with a knife. That's pretty MacGyver-ish if you ask me. But he is nowhere near as useful against Jason because he just gets fucked up and killed immediately. I mean, some of these broads actually lasted longer in a fight against Jason than Homeboy there does, but
This is it.
Thanks for the lift.
he is kind of tall, dark, and handsome, so the blonde-headed chick, Corey Feldman's older sister, takes an immediate liking to him. Gosh, his corpse gets trashed, too. Jason just murders him and then drags him across the street, like pulls him out of the basement of the other house to drag him across the street and like throw him through the window of their house. That's pretty low down and dirty. That ain't cool, man.
Tommy, who Who's your friend? Mom, this is Rob. Rob, this is my mother.
He like holding his hand, like, come up and see my room, dog. You want to come see my Legos? And I got fucking He-Mans up here and shit. Shit, Inspector Gadget's gonna be on pretty soon, and then Thundercats is on after that. We had good TV back then. My kids be watching Sheriff Labrador and shit. I'm like, the fuck is this shit? I got half of mine to go buy like every episode of motherfucking Gem and the Holograms and fucking Inspector Gadget and Thundercats and shit, and just sit my kids down. You want to watch TV, you got to watch some good shit. You got to watch some of the shit that I watched when I was a kid. I'm be watching the Sheriff Labrador and fucking Sonic Boom and whatever else. Get out of here with this shit. But presumably, like, this is a showcase for Tom Savini's, like, you know, makeup effects and masks and whatnot. But like, within the story, I guess presumably this is to show how resourceful the Tommy Jarvis character is with regard to, like, creatively making these very realistic looking things. They don't really have any storyline impact at all, except for at the end when he, you know, shaves his head and he comes down looking like Jason. But even then, it's not a prop. It's like he's cosplaying as young Jason just to throw him off for a second. I mean, everything is just to kind of give us a creepy image of Corey Feldman to kind of haunt our dreams a little bit. But kind of a pointless, almost a pointless characterization of Tommy is to show that he's sort of into this, like, movie magic shit. He's very much into this stuff that, God, the music he puts on is terrible here, too. This is one of the most cringeworthy scenes of the entire decade of the 1980s. Maybe horror as an entire genre is the way this guy is just fucking spurging out. Like, that's not even dancing, man. You're going to hit somebody. You're going to knock over a lamp or some shit. I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you come over to my house and you put on shit music like this and you start having a fucking... And then the guy changes the music, as he absolutely should, and Crispin Glover's character gets offended. Like, come on. They're trying to, like, get with these young Doublemint twins. Allow them to play something that's a little bit sensual, you know? Play something that's a little erotic and let's dance real closely, because, you know, that whatever the shit he was just playing is not doing it. That is not how you get near a lady. That's not how you grind your pelvises together. You need something that's, I mean, if you want something more upbeat, you got to at least go for something like R&B or hip hop or something like really kind of, you know, like genital grinding. His instincts are all wrong. And I gotta say, he's probably a dead fuck for that reason. Whatever a dead fuck is, Crispin Glover is a dead fuck because he was putting on that bullshit music and expecting those girls to just, like, I don't know, hit this fucking ADHD medicine with me and let's dance around the living room. Let's have a fucking mosh pit, because that's what we go to a cabin in the woods for, is to have a fucking mosh pit. In the middle of, you go to a cabin in the woods so that you can bone the other girls that you brought with you.
Stay near the trail. It goes all the way around the lake.
Oh, well.
It's a skilled 12-year-old. I mean, they're definitely giving you the impression that the Tommy Jarvis character is more skilled than average with that type of thing. Like, he's a prodigy, I guess, with regard to makeup and special effects and kind of creating these prosthetic creatures. You know, in the same style as, like, 80s stuff, like the eyes were moving inside that, you know, he had his hand in there and he's working the thing and the eyes are moving and the mouth is moving, the teeth look realistic. And I don't know, man, I miss practical effects. You watch stuff like that and you realize that all of these creatures from films like this one and other films of the same era were made practically, and they were constructed by actual fucking artists that they had, like, a craft and an art, and it was not CG. There was not CG anywhere near this film. And the makeup effects on Jason Voorhees, especially as he's, like, dying at the end when he's, like, sliding down the machete, yes, they look fake as fuck, but it's, like, still real in the sense that, you know, there's, like, a piece of rubber and plastic and, like, red goop that you could touch, you could put your hands on. Like, somebody molded it with their fingers and with like implements and stuff. And I gotta say, I appreciate that way more than like the Netflix slop AI shit, slop CG shit that's just kind of thrown together and everything's green screened and shit. Even when it looks kind of fake. I mean, there's a texture to this film. It's an older film, but there is a real texture to everything. You know what this feels like. You know what everything in this, what the clothes feel like, what the couch feels like, that grandma-ass looking couch and the lamp and everything like that. There's a real like tactile sense to all of the objects in this shot. And I missed that a little bit.
Actually, I was thinking about taking a little swim.
And I think it doesn't hurt that all the girls in this movie are wicked cute. In the other Friday the 13th movies leading up to this one, yeah, there were definitely some cuties. But I don't think there is just a roster of talent, of feminine talent in this Friday the 13th movie that is head and shoulders beyond the roster in part 1, 2, or 3. Yes, there are some good-looking girls in those films, but they're more the exception than the rule. Or maybe I just kind of dig that like 80s style more than the 70s, like big bushy hair that looks like they'd never done anything with it before. Just, they just look like kind of savage, like feral wild women. And you just imagine how much armpit and pubic hair they must have. But here it's like, it looks like things have started to take care of themselves a little bit. They came indoors.
That I wanted to talk to you for a second.
No, this is true. This is true. And I applaud anybody who's still out there doing practical shit. I definitely do, because that is definitely the way. I don't watch a lot of new movies. I was reflecting on that recently, that watching a new movie is kind of rare. I said earlier that we did not make it through Porco Rosso, which is too bad, because I was really getting pulled into Porco Rosso. I was like, dude, this is a good movie. The animation is incredible. My wife was like, holy shit, this is a 35-year-old movie. I was like, oh yeah, this is like late 80s or very early 90s. Like, she couldn't believe it was as old as it was, because the animation was that good. Unfortunately, we didn't make it through. We wound up watching K-Pop Demon Hunters. I watched K-Pop Demon Hunters earlier tonight for the, 25th time, practically speaking. I mean, I'm starting to learn the dialogue of that movie. Looking forward to that Criterion coming out. But watch K-Pop Demon Hunters, and I was reflecting. I'm like, okay, this is a relatively new movie that I've seen 24 times, and I've seen a few other new kind of like kids movies, like the Garfield movie and stuff that my kids are interested in and into. But it's rare. I mean, it's been rare that like I've gone to see a new movie that like I'm interested in. I think the last one my wife and I went to see was Nosferatu, because we really don't go see a ton of new movies, which is a shame. I would like to. I think I saw The Amateur in theaters too. That one with Freddie Mercury ass. Anyway. No, the Friday the 13th remake definitely did. And that very long chase will be the first to remind you how damned long that sex scene was. And they kept cutting back to it. I'm like, yes. Like, every time it cuts back and they're still naked, I'm like, yeah, that bitch is still riding that dick. And also, like, props to the dude, because I would have nutted. So I'd be done with my sandwich and sleeping by now. Like, he's still going in her, and I'm like, I would have nutted. I would have cleaned up. She would be like, she'd be over her disappointment by now. Like, I'd be eating I'd be done with the sandwich. I'd be like waiting on the pizza bites to warm up and playing video game, like playing Mario Kart. I would have been done way before he was. But every time it cut back and it was like, yeah, like she's still butt naked. Forgive me, Dr. Zeus, for I have sinned. I haven't seen Sinners yet. I have not seen it. And I know that you love it. We've talked about that. I know that you're a big fan. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gotten around to it. If it comes on Netflix, I have Netflix, and my wife has Amazon Prime. I'll watch it. I'm definitely grabbing the K-pop Criterion. I love that death. I mean, like, God, I wish I could rewind during these scenes, but that was like one of the worst death scenes in a Friday the 13th movie, even the ones that are like trying to kind of be funny. And I know this one's really not trying to be funny, but like she's like going cross-eyed and like sticking her tongue out the side of her face. It looks like those silly porn memes where they're like, I dropped a weight on my foot. And she's like, you know, like obviously getting railed, but it's like the face I make when I drop a weight on my foot or something. That was one of the worst deaths. It was just so terribly acted. And it's too bad because that was the girl that was swimming around naked, like underneath the dock. Yeah. And it was kind of nice. Yeah. But now she did. Crispin Glover gets really lucky here. I mean, you have to appreciate how it just kind of lands in his lap. I know, and that's the part that I don't really get. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't criticize, but like, are there even 16 Oscars? Like, that's what I'm asking myself right now. Like, are there 16 Oscars? Because that seems like a lot of nominations. And are there that many to even give? I don't know. I feel like maybe there's not. Maybe there's not that many Oscars to give.
Do you want to join that?
At least he's dancing like this is better. Like, you can't be like swinging your arms around, knocking over the lamps and shit. Kind of crazy dancing, like scare my cats off and stuff. Brad, this one's for you. My 4K tent revival homie. Weren't you saying the other day that you don't feel like you see the Guinness in the cans like this that much anymore? I found a 4-pack of Guinness cans. They're like the Guinness tall boys. And I don't even like Guinness, but I'm doing this for you. Actually, I'm doing this because it's, you know, it's almost St. Patrick's Day, so.
Teddy bear.
Down the hatch. This tastes like nitro brew coffee. Like when you buy one of those like Starbucks cans of nitro brew coffee. That's what this tastes like to me. And I don't like porters and I don't like stouts, but, you know, it's only St. Patty's Day once a year. I know it's not St. Patty's Day yet, but I bought a 4-pack today for St. Patty's Day, so I'm going to drink one now. Homeboy's about to go find that girl's corpse. You better hope them boobies are still warm. You get one more squeeze in. I'm not a big fan of lake swimming in the dark like that. I understand they're in New Jersey. There's not a big risk of alligators, but I don't like it. I don't like not being able to see what's down there with me. Although I suppose that works pretty well in Jason's favor. Yeah, man. What can I tell you? I found a 4-pack of cans today, tall boy cans. And I got to say, this is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. It's not as, like, heavy. But even still, I don't like the flavor's too malty. It's too rounded. And these are only like 4.5%, which is wild. At least the IPA is. Homeboy's getting murked. Trying to swim away. Got the dark scene right here. I don't know if I think my monitor that I'm using is messed up with the settings too, but just got shot right in the dick with the harpoon. That's pretty painful to watch because homeboy takes it right in the genitals. And I gotta say, I hope I'm dead before they mutilate my genitals. Because you don't want that. Bruh. I already got enough hair on my shoulders, dog. I'm looking like a whole ass Tony Soprano when I take my shirt off. Got that hair just going right over the top. Just coming right over the top. It's on the shoulders and everything. I'm kind of lucky, like my arms aren't too bad. Like this is kind of normal human being, but I'm like a Sasquatch when I take the shirt off. So Guinness in college, man. I was actually looking for Killian's Irish Red today. That was what I was going to drink to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but I couldn't find any, so they had Guinness. Brewed in Ireland, so. it will put even more hair on my shoulders. I would drink Guinness every day if it make the hair go away. Take the hair off the shoulders. Homeboy is hunting Jason by trying to be like a victim of Jason. And it looks like Jason kind of like broke some of his shit, I guess. He just missed him. I always wondered about this part because, you know, he's examining some of his shit that is now broken. But he doesn't have an actual encounter with Jason. He just, you know, evidence that Jason was there in his tent breaking his shit. But Jason's gone back to murder the teenagers now.
No, actually, it's
Crispin Glover has no idea how lucky he is right now. That one of the Doublemint twins basically just threw it on him. Like, it just fell out of the sky and landed on his lap. Like, he couldn't be more lucky if Ed McMahon showed up at his door tomorrow with a check for $1 million. And that definitely happened to me and my wife when we were dating. The bed, we broke the bed frame, which I'm kind of proud of. I don't think she would like me telling you guys this, so please don't tell her I told you this, but we broke the bed frame. And that's how I knew she was a keeper. I was like, all right, like I can marry this woman. We broke this bed frame, and, you know, I was like, all right, I can stick around for this. This is good. This is wife material. Like, they found, like, the vintage porn. Like, 8mm reels of vintage porn. I also love that, like, one of these 80s kids knew how to hook up like an 8mm projector. You know what I mean? Like, somebody knew how to do that. Like, one of them knew how to do that. And I'm not sure the same could be said of kids these days. Like, I'm not even sure kids these days could, like, hook up a VHS player to a TV. Like,
Tina, I'm gonna leave without you. Take an umbrella.
pack an umbrella. I never really thought about that before, but some kid knew how to hook up a 8mm projector and get that thing rolling. Because they'd done it before, presumably. That was back in the day when, you know, it's conceivable that you might have to watch your porn on 8mm film.
You slut!
You slut. That's too bad that we just get that one as like a shadow. You know? Oh, there's some old-timey boobies.
I'm going upstairs.
This chick is like, I'm going upstairs. We've been watching some black and white 1920s porn, and I am horned up. Fucking Jesse Spano here is like, let's go upstairs.
Do you mind sleeping in the bottom bunk tonight?
Why, you want to sleep in the top?
I think low-key, she's probably the cutest one in this movie. I think Tommy Jarvis's sister is like supposed to be the cutest one, but I'm not sure that I agree. I'm not sure that I'm on that page. I think maybe this girl right here is the cutest one.
Okay.
She's all like shy and demure and shit, which I think is also kind of cute. You know what I mean? I mean, she's kind of throwing it at him, but she's also like, she's being cute about it.
Stop.
And poor Teddy Bear is just going to be left by himself to smoke a J and watch vintage ass porn. Like my grandma's grandma dancing around naked.
Tommy? Trish?
I gotta say, I feel bad for the mom in this movie too, because she never even saw it coming. You know? It's gotta be hard for Tommy and Trish too, because they survived the film. And it's nice that they've got each other. They've just been through this terribly traumatic experience, and they lose their mom. That's too bad, because the mom is also like Pretty solid 80s MILF. I hate to focus too much on that, but, you know, she's a solid 80s MILF. What can I tell you?
Gordon.
And I think Gordon got it too. Like, they don't really show it. They weren't as precious about hurting animals back then, you know, as they are nowadays. It's like if you hurt an animal, all these fucking millennials will like find where you live and bomb your house. So it's really kind of a shame because you can't have like the storyline. It can't involve any harm coming to animals. But I do think Gordon, like, I think he got ganked. Which makes a lot of sense, too. You know, in part 2, he kills the dog. Jason kills that dog as well in part 2. And it makes sense. You know, obviously he wants to take out the dog because dogs bite, can fuck you up, and they bark a lot. So it's hard to be real sneaky with them around. But it also makes sense that, like, a homicidal maniac isn't going to respect the life of an animal. But if he's going around killing people, you know, why wouldn't he kill a dog? Sometimes you see that in, like, modern day. The modern sensibilities, like, don't hurt the animal. Like, you can kill a whole bunch of teenagers, but you can't hurt the dog. I think, you know, the homicidal maniac who's, like, he's a bad guy. Like, why wouldn't he hurt the dog? Like, what's wrong with the bad character doing the bad things? Like, we don't like when animals get hurt. We don't like when people say the N-word. We don't like racism, etc. But, like, when the bad guy says the N-word, it's kind of supposed to tell you, like, yeah, he's the bad guy. We're not rooting for him anyway. It's just remarkable how people sort of expect the homicidal maniac to also conform to certain, like, social mores that, like, why would he? He's murdering people. Like, of course he's also going to be... like, he's going to kill the dog and say the N-word. It's just, you know, kind of ridiculous, but weed kills. In this case, yeah, I think if you have to be, like, if you have to have your wits about you because you might be murdered by Jason Voorhees, I do think it's best to not get too impaired. Whether it's alcohol or marijuana, I think the best bet is to, you know, keep your head on a swivel. Stay sober. Have that quick reaction time. Be mentally present. Because if you're hammered off anything, you're in trouble. You're not going to hear him coming. Think of the children indeed. That is one thing. Now, the dog people can fuck right off. Like the dog moms and the dog dads. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody in this chat. I love you people. Not you. But people who aren't in this chat can fuck right off. Like the dog mom, the dog dad. I don't want to see a bumper sticker on your car. Like my dogs, my kids have paws and all this stupid shit. Because, like, unless you squeeze that dog out of your vagina, I don't want to hear about it. You're not a dog mom. If you gestated that dog inside you for 40 weeks, then okay, fine. But unless that dog actually descended through your birth canal and came out your vagina and they had to sew your vagina back up because you gave birth to a fucking labradoodle, I don't want to hear it. But with kids in movies, there are films where kids get hurt, kids get killed, kids die in certain films. I always have a hard time with that. That's something that's difficult for me. It was tough for me even before I became a father, but definitely, like, being a dad and having young kids that, like, honestly, it's a lot of work keeping these little fuckers alive. Like, they'll stand on things and climb on things that they really shouldn't, and they'll, like, dance around and do crazy shit. Honestly, sometimes when they're just standing there, they'll just randomly fall over. So forget about, like, you can't stand in one place without falling over randomly at times. They definitely can't, like, run around and dance and climb stuff without falling. Like, they're constantly trying to crack their skulls open like an egg. And so, yeah, being a dad made it even worse for, you know, just having kids and seeing any type of, like, violence towards children, whether it's, like, domestic violence or just, like, a kid getting, like, having a disease or, you know, getting hit by a car in a movie, like Pet Cemetery shit. It's very hard for me, you know, at this point in my life. And he's got to ask her, was I a dead fuck? He's over here agonizing. Bro, you just nutted in a double mint twin. Like, you're doing good. You're fine. Like, you don't need to ask her, was I a dead fuck or whatever. Like, stop. You're spending your final moments on this earth. You should be sniffing her butthole. You should have your whole face buried in the crack of her ass because you got about 10 more minutes left to live. You need to be burying your face in the crack of her ass, and you do not need to be worrying about whether or not you were a dead fuck. Did you ejaculate? The question I want you to ask yourself, if you can hear my words, next time you're feeling insecure after sex with a lady or with a dude, I don't care, after sex with a person, if you're feeling insecure about yourself, the thing you need to ask yourself in your head is, did I just nut? If the answer is yes, if you can say yes, I just nutted, you don't have, there's nothing else you need to worry about. You got no other worries in your brain. Empty your mind like a Zen monk. I want you to just push all the thoughts out from your head. You just nutted. You're one with the earth, dog. Like, you don't need to worry about nothing else because you just nutted. You're an ounce lighter, and it's the ounce that counts. Remember that. I'm here to drop wisdom on you people. It's the ounce that counts. And you're an ounce lighter because you just nutted. You don't got nothing to worry about in life. People are just creating all these problems for themselves to worry about, you know? And if you nutted in a double mint twin, you got nothing to worry about. Look at him. He's so stoned. He's like playing with the panties and shit. This poor bastard. I think this is one of the first. I mean, part 3 had that Shelby character that kept doing all the stupid pranks and stuff like that. And I couldn't wait for him to get killed. But, you know, the other characters were all right. This movie is just completely populated with characters that I just can't wait to die. Like, he's like Tad. I mean, like, he's really playing it up. You got to almost have to appreciate him as an actor.
Hey, Ted, where the hell's corkscrew?
There's the corkscrew, dog. And the butcher knife right to the face. That is a pretty fun one because he really buries that butcher knife deep inside Crispin Glover's face, and that was kind of nice. A double mint twin is cute, I gotta say. The girls that have survived this long are definitely very cute. But I think this is the first one where, like, all of the characters, maybe almost all of the characters that they're going to kill off are very annoying. And as an audience member, we're, like, looking forward to them getting dispatched in some creative way. Because I'm like, shut up about the corkscrew and the dead fuck. And so, like, the whole movie, I'm like, why are you playing this terrible music and dancing this way? So when he finally does get, like, butcher knifed right through the face, it's like, yeah, like, I'm waiting for that moment. I think somebody inside would have heard that.
Sister Sandra was just...
Conan McLeod, what's up, my friend? How are you? I hope you've had a good week. I hope that you're doing well at this time. And yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, I also love dogs. I mean, I think something about us growing up with family pets, dogs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of reptiles. So, like, I don't know, if you wanted to light up an alligator in a movie, if you wanted to just, you know, shoot it with a machine gun, like Arnold Schwarzenegger comes out with the minigun and just, like, blows the alligator into applesauce, I would be cool with that. I do not like reptiles. I really dislike large reptiles. If I woke up tomorrow and I opened my news app and I found out that alligators and crocodiles went extinct, there were no more on the planet, I would throw a party to celebrate because I don't like those animals at all. I don't think we need them. I dislike them. They eat dogs. Some family pet goes missing, and you know what? It's because some dickhead had a ball python as a pet and then let them go into the wild, and now there's an 8-foot python living in your neighborhood, and it eats the small dogs. I fucking hate those creatures. Anyway, that being said, I mean, I think mammals... You know, everybody has a dog or a cat as a pet. I got a couple cats that annoy the shit out of me. But, like, my wife and kids love these cats. So I'm like, whatever. I'll tolerate you. You're nice to the kids. They really put up with a lot from my children, so I have to begrudgingly appreciate the cats. So, you know, like, I'm with that. When animals get killed in movies, it's bad. But, you know, if the bad guy kicks a dog, it's like, he's the bad guy. He's supposed to. That's what he's supposed to do. Yeah, classic. Classic way to go. Here, I think, is where we're about to get the booty smushed up against the glass. As I was telling you guys earlier, there's a lovely little scene with Jesse Spano-looking character. I don't know. Is it just me? I think she reminds me of Jesse Spano from Saved by the Bell. But maybe I'm the only one thinking that. But look at there, right there. Booty's about to get squished up against the glass. Here it comes. Ah, there we go. Booty just got squished up against the glass. I don't know why that pleases me so much, but there's something about smushing a booty up against glass, or boobs too. Like smushing anything up against glass and then being like an observer outside of that and watching the things smush up against the glass, I think is, it makes for nice imagery. Yeah, but he's been fucking terminating those ovaries, man. He fucking terminating them fucking ovulations. Shit. I mean, this dumbass is trying to see while looking right down the barrel of that light. Like, let me just try to see what's behind the projector while standing in front of the projector. Like, he could just move 2 feet to the side. He's probably one of the more annoying characters. Really been looking forward to him getting stabbed in the back of the skull. Not quite the Joe Pesci ice pick, but, you know, still satisfying. I am quite surprised he didn't hear his buddy Crispin Glover getting murdered in the kitchen, like, you know, 3 feet away, though. I'm a little sad that she puts the towel on so securely before even exiting the shower. You got to step out of the shower naked before you put a towel on. For everybody in the chat, how many of you guys put a towel on before stepping out of the shower versus like stepping out of the shower and then grabbing the towel off of the hook or whatever? Because I kind of feel like the shower is, you know, I don't have enough room anyway. Like, I want to get that towel around me. I need to like move my arms. I need a little space. I mean, she's a smaller person than I am, and obviously this is a film, so she's got to cover them titties up, but I think it's a shame that she did. And I got to say, that towel really stays on. She's about to get pursued by Jason and, you know, run away from him and stuff. And I think she takes an axe to the torso, and that towel stays in place. I can't keep a towel on me for shit. I'll wrap that towel around me twice. I'll tuck it in. I'll fold it down and still take like 2 steps. And boom, the towel's falling off, and everybody can see my nuts. But this towel, it's like she super glued that shit to her. This guy goes straight for the, like, hey, buddy, I dropped the soap. Like, he's just going straight for it. It's pretty ridiculous, but he thinks it's his friend or whatever. He's like, oh, hey, buddy, come on in. Wash my back. I dropped the soap. Like, he's... Some funny dialogue here. He's about to get got.
Who is it, Paulie? Paulie. Hey, Paulie, is that you?
He thinks it's his buddy, Paulie.
Hey, Paulie. Whoops. Dropped my bar of soap, old buddy. Must be in here with the old pal.
That's just some silly characterization for him. They invent these lines for him. I guess, what does he die from? I guess he gets, like, the thumbs through the... He does a pretty bad job of fighting back. I guess he gets his head crushed up against the wall. That looked pretty gnarly. What's a towel? That's what I'm talking about. I'm a man. Right there. What's a towel? I just walk around naked. I don't care if it's wintertime and it's cold. I just walk around naked and just fucking... drip dry slowly over the course of 15 minutes.
Can't hear you sing.
What's a towel? I just wipe my ass with one of my cats.
So sing.
She's still glowing and shit. That's very cute. Now she's about to find a corpse. That's not gonna be very good for her, but I can't believe that towel stays in place. Look at that, she's running around. She's going down the stairs. That towel is still there. That towel doesn't go nowhere. That is a super towel. Takes an axe right to the midsection. That's terrible. It's terrible what they did to that girl. She's the cutest girl in this whole movie. I bet they could get Corey Feldman back if they wanted to do another. If they wanted to do another Tommy Jarvis Jason
No,
movie.
not yet.
I doubt he'd even be that much.
Rob, what's going on?
And they don't ever find the mama, I guess. I think Jason already got mom, but I don't know what he did with her corpse or whatever, because they don't really cut back to that. They don't ever find, you know, mom's dead and Jason stuffed her in the closet or whatever. This is one of those films too where just the earlier Friday the 13th films, we see Jason run. I mean, there are instances where he like moves kind of fast, and in this film, we're gonna see it here in another minute. He does sort of stage things almost in a very Michael Myers kind of way where you know, he'll move a corpse and set it up. I guess Gordon's still there, huh? Yeah, I guess that dog didn't get killed yet. Look, the dog is alive and well. Everybody relax. The dog is alive and well. But Jason does stage a few corpses here and set them up in a way as to elicit a response from the people who are still alive. You know, I think he sets Crispin Glover's corpse up in a door, so they like open the door, and Crispin Glover's corpse is like kind of crucified to the wall or whatever on the other side of the door. So when you open the door, there's, you know, just a giant, you know, corpse in your way. And the idea is to create a maximal amount of terror in your victims before they die, which strikes me as like a very Michael Myers way. I mean, the first Halloween, Michael Myers goes to a lot of trouble to sort of stage things in a particular way, which is very Halloween-ish. It's like a haunted house where you go through this attraction that is staged in a way to shock you, surprise you, scare you, creep you out. So it's perfectly appropriate, I think, for Halloween. It's a little bit out of place here in someone who's just kind of a mindless killer. You know, oftentimes it's said that Jason is punishing people for, you know, what he suffered as a child, the death, his original death that he suffered, his drowning, was because of like neglectful camp counselors. So he punishes these kind of teenage, kind of camp counselor aged individuals who are, you know, engaging in partying and sex and recreational drug use and drinking and stuff, because they're the proxy for the counselors that didn't pay enough attention to him. So there's a lot of discussion around the general conceit of Jason targeting who he targets, where he targets these people, and sort of what, you know, the guilty parties, the ones who fornicate and use drugs and stuff like that, they're always the ones who die. And the final girl, the one who survives, generally tends to be the one who's a little bit more chaste and a little bit more sensible and less into like the partying and the sucking and the fucking and all the fun stuff that the Doublemint twins get up to, but they don't get to survive. Tommy Jarvis's sister Trish gets to survive because, you know, she is a more serious and chaste individual. She's not about that life. But with Jason staging the corpses, that doesn't seem like Jason is trying to punish these people. It does seem like he's more trying to psych out the final few survivors. And so it does seem in some ways kind of out of character for Jason, especially in the later ones where he's a zombie. He's really just kind of indiscriminately killing individuals who cross his path. So yeah, I don't recommend it. I mean, unless you're really like just out of toilet paper, then you can wipe your ass with a cat. My cats do follow me, especially I have a boy and a girl cat. They're like brother sister. They're siblings. The boy cat follows me to the bathroom. So if I go into the bathroom, because he wants me to turn the sink on, because he likes drinking out of the tap when it's running. So if I go into the bathroom for any reason, brush my teeth, anything, he'll follow me to the bathroom and he'll hop up on the sink and he'll like stare at the faucet expectantly. So I know that if I ever need to wipe my ass with a cat, he's going to be right there. He's going to come in. He's going to be like, yo, are you turning on the water? No, you're not. You're picking me up. Why are you doing this? And I can just wipe my ass with that cat. He won't do shit because he's a pussy. It could be. He doesn't have any nuts anymore, so he's probably very confused about his own sexual preference because his whole natural drive has been completely eliminated, you know, through medicine. Medicinal science has completely negated his maleness. So actually it's Ma'am now. The boy cat goes by Ma'am. See, here we have some of that staging, right? Like Jason actually gets the guy's corpse out of the shower to pin him up against the wall because he's expecting it to have some effect on the few remaining survivors. And I guess he's hiding in that basement because he's about to F up this dude. The stairs just broke. Man, basements can be creepy in these movies. You don't F around there. God help you if that hot water heater goes out or the furnace or whatever. I like his lines of dialogue. Oh, God, he's killing me. He's killing me. The dude's like not even fighting back. He's just kind of, oh, God, he's killing me. Run, run. And she doesn't even have the wherewithal to run. She's just like, I'm gonna completely squander my head start. Like, she's not helping, but she's also not running either. It's like, you know, either help or run, you know, like stab him in the back with a machete or something, or take advantage of the guy's sacrifice and run. She doesn't run. She doesn't. She's just like, I'm going to cry over his corpse. And I don't know where Jason is, but there goes the head start she could have had. Totally squandered. See? I mean, he's got her by the ankle. He's reaching up from the stairs now, which is really kind of silly for him. Again, I think it's more about him sort of freaking her out. There's another body that he removed the body from the car where it fell. You know, that Doublemint twin fell, hit the car. There's Crispin Glover kind of, you know, crucified to the exterior. Jason had to set all of these up. It feels very much like Halloween Part 1. Because I think even in the Halloween films, you know, by Halloween Part 2, Halloween 3 doesn't count because there's no Michael Myers, but in Halloween 2, he wasn't really staging corpses like that, the way he did in Halloween 1, where he really killed a few people, but then set them up in a way that they were meant to be found and it was meant to freak out Laurie Strode. Here, Jason's kind of doing the same thing. And it would seem to be for the effect of freaking this Trish girl out, who just does not look as cute as the Jesse Spano character in the towel. To me, you know. What happened, bro? Every time Jason kills, the demon gets his, I don't know, cloven hooves. I don't know. I was thinking about It's a Wonderful Life today. I was looking at James Stewart's career trajectory. That guy still has like the garden spade. He's got like a trowel through the side of his head. It's kind of fucked up. His body was very much disrespected. There she goes. She's finally helping now. Keep whacking him in the head with the claw hammer. There you go. I mean, he's had much worse at this point. He had an axe buried in his skull in the third movie, and he's still able to, like, bust a door down. It's remarkable what he's able to endure and still, you know, essentially like a football, like a lineman here. Like, that shit gonna stop him. Come on, man. I was pausing this shit earlier to try to figure out what toys he had on that cabinet. I was trying to figure out, like, what of them, has he got Thundercats on there or what? Like, what, were any of those toys, like, recognizable to me? Did I have any of them when I was a young lad in the 1980s? Maybe. That's a very, like, 80s kid room. Like, it's kind of a mess and it's kind of sparse. Like, the shit doesn't match. And he's just kind of got shit everywhere. Okay, I'd be interested. I've read about Jimmy Stewart, but I haven't read about any skeletons in his closet. But there's a lot of autobiographies and biographies of unauthorized biographies too of like you know, golden age stars that I'd love to read, just to kind of like, you know, Cary Grant killed a hooker, like Jimmy Stewart was bisexual and had affairs with Tyrone Powers, and like what other, you know, what kind of crazy shit did they get up to? Like how Hollywood Babylon style. I remember reading that book way back in the day. Dude smashed him on the head with a television, man. He's done. Son, that TV should have killed him. He should be gone right now because of that. And then in the horror movies, you know, you knock down the guy and you think you've got the next 15 or 30 seconds just totally free. Are you going to stand there and whisper to your brother, or do you want to maybe finish the job? Because, you know, like a horror movie, they always get back up. They always, you know, they're never dead the first time over. But I think you just keep dropping the TV on his head. You just crush his skull. You know? I don't know. I kind of feel like this is where you curb stomp the guy a few times just to make sure he doesn't get up. And no DA in the land is going to indict you for, you know, hitting the guy while he's down. You're not supposed to do that, but at the same time, he is kind of a crazed murderer. You're acting in your own self-defense. I don't think they're going to prosecute you for curb stomping the guy a few times. Normally, in a defensive situation, you shouldn't do that. Don't hit him while he's down, because that'll get you in trouble. That's no longer defense. Not that I'm dispensing official legal advice, but usually you don't want to hit the guy while he's down. It's hard to claim self-defense. But in this case, I think extenuating circumstances of him being like 6 feet, 3 inches, and 270 pounds, and surviving an axe wound to the head, I don't think they're going to fault you too much for... She just dives out. She's just like, I'm out. I'm just bailing. And this is what happened. Oh, I like the nice panty shot. That's what happened to the Doublemint twin. I like how they had the respect to, like, jack that dress up. Cut back down to the girl. There we go. And her dress is jacked up so we can see the undies, all of the legs. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This is how you make a film, people, all right? Write this down. Take a note. That's what happened to the Doublemint twin, and she dead, but old Trish over here is alive. I guess she landed on, I guess the mud broke her fall or some shit. There's a little pile of leaves. I don't know. I was surprised that the Doublemint twin died when she hit the car as well earlier. And this is where he decides, like, all right, I'm going to do like a little, I'm going to like do a little head shave because he saw the article. And everything else moves in slow motion, but this kid's got like 30 minutes to start cutting his hair and shaving his head. It makes zero sense, but... Tommy, you were supposed to leave, not shave your head in the bathroom. There we go. At least she heard him coming. Kid's still clipping his head. He hadn't even put the Barbasol on his head yet. It's wild. Like, he's got like 20 minutes of head shaving left. And his sister's already fighting Jason. Look at this. That is quite obviously a fake hand. It's not even the same color as the other hand and the rest of them. Kid's just taking his sweet time shaving his head with his mama's freaking leg razors or whatever. Yeah, it's a miracle his sister's still alive by the time he gets downstairs. Jimmy Stewart impression would be fun. I don't really have much of a Jimmy Stewart impression, unfortunately. I mean, did Corey Feldman also apply makeup? Like, did Tommy Jarvis put makeup on too? Because he looks kind of, you know, like he's got the bags under his eyes and the. He almost looks like the Joker. With no hair. So we've seen this happen in part 2 as well. Obviously, like, what's her name? Ginny pretended to be Jason's mom. Put on that, like, stanky-ass sweater, too. The corpse sweater. And pretended to be the mom, and... There we go. About to see the face. Whack that hockey mask right off. And again, we got, like, an image of Jason, and it looks very different than the way he looked at the end of part 3. Like, total redesign of the facial features. Quite fake looking. I mean, it does look like an actor wearing a lot of prosthetics. A lot of slow motion in this last scene, too. Like, we got to see him pick that machete up. Super slow motion. But it is better than watching all these characters just kind of cower and cry until they die. Right in the side of the head. This is pretty gnarly. I mean, you can tell that they really meant for Jason to die here, because he, like, slides down the machete. Like, bloody chunks and everything going all over the place. They really meant for that to be like, this is it. Like, dude is dead. Like, his head is practically in 2 pieces. Like when you go to Subway and they cut the sub bread open and they fold that sub bread open before they stuff all your, like, sandwich fixings and shit in it. That's what Tommy Jarvis just did to Jason's head. He, like, sliced the thing open. You could, like, fold that thing open like that. But he's not done yet, right? Like, the finger twitches here, and perfectly normal, right? Like, a little bit of nerve activity still happening after death. The finger twitches, and Tommy Jarvis is like, fuck no. He sees that finger twitch, and he's like, I ain't having it. He does the thing that I was just talking about, where you have to attack the guy. Like, you have to take advantage of the 5 or 10 seconds that you have that you're given. Look at it like a gift, and really fuck that guy up when he's in the ground. And this is obviously where they're planting the seed too, like Tommy Jarvis is kind of traumatized and fucked up in the head by this experience, as one would be. The PTSD caused by this experience would be pretty intense. So when we finally see him in part 5, it makes sense that his character is messed up. The part 6 version of Tommy Jarvis doesn't make a ton of sense because he's acting kind of like a normal 18 or 19-year-old. But in part 5, like, the Tommy Jarvis character makes a lot of sense. I think he's fairly well cast in part 5 too.
He's going to be just fine. But right now, what you need is...
Again, with this, they're trying to set up a parallel with part 1, where Alice wakes up in the hospital, and there's a sheriff there, a sheriff's deputy there, and a doctor there in this kind of old-school hospital-looking room that's sort of sparsely lit. And, you know, she's still a little out of it, but she's just experienced this traumatic thing. So they're trying to set up this parallel with part 1. This is obviously meant to be the end. I mean, they took it seriously when they called it the final chapter. It's a little silly in hindsight because it's like not the final chapter at all. They made like 10 more Friday the 13th movies after this. Actually, it's like not even the middle chapter. It's not even close to the final chapter, but you can tell they kind of intended it for it to be. I gotta say, they need to shave the rest of his head. That was like wisps of air. There we go. Proof that Corey Feldman acted at least once. I think so. I think it's inevitable that there will be another Friday the 13th. Almost certainly there will be another one. I'm surprised there hasn't been one. You know, I think it's been a rights issue more than anything. You know, we got the remake, and then that was it. They didn't follow that up with anything, and I was honestly kind of surprised they didn't. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get the Crystal Lake series. I think it's just a matter of time. I'm interested to see, you know, how they're gonna do Friday the 13th as a television series. You know, how they're gonna do 6 or 8 episodes or 10 episodes or 12 episodes. They're probably not going to do 24 episodes like decades ago, like they used to do with Cheers and shit like that. It's not going to be like a season of Frasier where there's like 26 episodes. There will be at most 12 per season. But nonetheless, they're going to have to like stretch this narrative out over, 8 or 10 or 12 hours worth of television programming. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I do have my doubts as to how well that will work. How well a story like this would work as a TV series, but you know, we will see. We'll see how it is. I mean, they cast Linda Cardellini as Pamela Voorhees, which is interesting. I mean, Linda Cardellini is, I think, maybe a little underrated as an actress. She obviously, she's getting a little older now, but 20 years ago, you couldn't tell me that she wasn't hot. Like, come on, you're not watching Scooby Doo. She's playing Velma. You're not closing your eyes and imagining her climbing on top of you. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. So yeah, I think we got more Friday the 13th coming. It might be television these days to take advantage of like streaming versus a film. But maybe if the Crystal Lake TV show does well enough and it feels like there's interest, then the producers may decide that they want to do a film as well. I mean, we live in a different world now than we did in the mid-'80s when these films were getting churned out every single year and they were going to the theaters and making a ton of money. I mean, we live in a world where movies don't do so great in theaters and people aren't going to see films anymore, unfortunately. So, whatever we see next for Friday the 13th probably does go straight to streaming, unfortunately. But we'll see what winds up happening. Yeah, I mean, presumably they could do more crossover stuff. Yeah. I don't know how much interest there is in another Freddy versus Jason. I mean, they ended it ambiguously enough that like neither of the killers were like permanently dead. It seemed like they could pick up from there. But that just seems like the prudent way for like a business person to end a film, unfortunately, is to kind of like leave things open because we might want to make a sequel. They don't do definitive endings anymore, unfortunately. So, that would be interesting, I mean, there's a whole world that's open up to people now. And all this multiverse shit that got introduced primarily with the MCU in its most recent iteration with all this multiverse shit. I remember having an argument with my buddy Matt, and I was like, yo, like Predator is now canon to the MCU. Like it has to be. And he's like, no, it isn't. I'm like, well, it's Fox. Fox got bought by Disney. So Predator is now owned by Disney. Disney owns the MCU. Like, you're telling me that there's an infinite number of universes in this multiverse, then there has to be a universe where Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dutch fought a predator and killed it. And then, you have like the comic book crossovers. I think Wolverine fought a predator in like a canon Marvel comic book. So, you can't tell me that Predator is not canon to the MCU now, and that's the problem with multiversal stuff. So, I mean, I think that's what you get when you have these crossovers. And so they may not be super enthusiastic about like doing Predator and Alien, Predator versus Alien versus Jason versus Freddy. I don't know. I'd buy a ticket for it. Why not? That sounds ridiculous enough to be fun, but yeah. I think Conan is actually a playable character. And speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think Conan is a playable character in one of the Mortal Kombat games too. I haven't played a Mortal Kombat game since, I don't know, the 90s probably. I'm always more of a Zelda guy anyway. Final Fantasy as well. I like both of those. Thor versus Luke Skywalker. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, they're both Disney properties, so they could certainly be canon to one another. And there's enough like multiversal shenanigans in Deadpool that like just everything's canon to everything else. So is Terminator. Yeah. There's a point where like you have enough Arnold properties that are owned by the same studio. Predator, Terminator, Conan the Barbarian, where it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger could star in his own crossover and play like all the different roles, and that would be ridiculous to see. But that's the problem with multiverse entertainment. I was complaining about the multiverse like way back when they first started doing it, because I'm like, it just, nothing matters anymore. Once it's a multiverse, you can kill a character off and then you just bring him back from some other universe. There's a reason why that was like just comic books doing that in the 70s and 80s and 90s. There's a reason why movies didn't do that and comic books did. Comic books wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have these giant stakes and kill off main characters, but then they also wanted to bring them back so that you could continue to sell comic books. But then the MCU did it, and I was like, what do you guys think? And this is a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. Anyway, it's hard to keep track of, too. It's just very difficult. And, you know, who cares about any of the universes when, you know, you have an infinite number of them? It's really kind of silly. I think your best bet is to do something like Rick and Morty style, where you just make fun of it, and like continuity isn't important and it doesn't matter. And you just tell a funny story and just try to make jokes out of it. That's really all you can do. It's very hard to take a multiverse type of story seriously. And they've talked about that with Jason, right? Like they've talked about the Jason universe. I think Paramount, maybe Universal Studios had something going on last Halloween for their their Halloween celebration where it was like Jason universe, and they've talked about doing like multiversal stuff with Jason, and every time I hear it, I have to shake my head, because it's like, you're going to start bringing Jasons together and they're going to fight each other, or they're going to team up. It's going to be like the Avengers, but with a whole bunch of different Jason Voorheeses. And then what do? It just, like, the idea of like, we want to respect these movies that came before, so we're going to tell a different story about another Jason from a different universe. I don't even think that's necessary. Just, reboot the thing. And if it's an entertaining film, it doesn't have to like interface with the other films that came before. It can be its own thing. And if it's an entertaining story, then we'll all enjoy it. Put the Doublemint twins in, get them naked, stab Crispin Glover in the face with the butcher knife. We're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy that movie. So that'd be a little bit weird. Yeah, that'd be weird. If they warn me, I'll get high before we go see that. And then that would be fine. I'll just eat edibles. I think it's a good idea to eat edibles before. This is not medical advice, everybody. This is not official medical advice, but I think it's a good idea to eat edibles before going to see a horror film. I did it before going to see It. And I always think that's a good idea. It's a good plan. So do that. Well, ladies, gentlemen. Oh, edibles. Every time, edibles. Always edibles. You eat them an hour before the movie. And then time stops when you're like in line waiting for your popcorn, and you're just like, what just happened? And then you sit down and Pennywise's teeth start coming out, and he chomps that poor kid's arm right off. And yeah, it's very freaky. Very, very freaky. Well, guys, it is now officially it's now officially the 14th. It's after midnight, at least here in EST time, and it's now the 14th. That's a little bit of a buzzkill, but and it is what it is. I gotta say, thank you guys very much for hanging out, for being in the comments and whatnot. Thank you to all my homies, Jeff, the good Dr. Zeus, Chase, Brad, all y'all people. You people, very fine people. I appreciate y'all hanging out for the film. Next Friday the 13th, let's see, when is that happening? I think we got one more this year. Friday the 13th in 2026. seems like, let's see. There are 3. 3 Friday the 13th. It means, oh, we got to wait till November. We don't get one in the summertime. That's really too bad. November the 13th is a Friday the 13th. So let's watch part 5 in November together. I'll do a commentary for Friday the 13th, part 5. We'll sit here. We'll drink a couple of these bad boys together, and we'll watch Friday the 13th, part 5 in November. I'll go live before then, of course. But yeah, Jeff, you're quicker with Google than I am. November the 13th. And I mean exactly what you think I mean, you people. Go to bed, Jeff. I need to go to bed. My kids are going to wake me up in the morning. I told my kids I would take them to go get donuts in the morning. Them shits are going to do a kip up out of bed like Bruce Lee. They're going to like flip up out of bed at 6 in the morning. They're like, the sun is almost up. Take me to get donuts, Father. You told me you would take me to get donuts. Yeah, but 8 o'clock is when the donut place opens. I try to lie to them and tell them that. The donut place doesn't open until 8, 8:30. But they're going to wake my ass up early, and they're going to say, Daddy, we need to go get donuts. So that is what my morning is going to be comprised of, is taking my young children to go get donuts. Like, I don't feed them enough bullshit as it is. And I hope everybody else in here have a great night. Have a lovely rest of your Friday the 13th. I'm actually going to go fall asleep watching the back half of part 6. I watched the first half last month for Friday the 13th in February, and now I got like the back half of part 6 to watch. I've seen it so many times, though, I'm going to just turn it on and just crash out, fall asleep while I'm watching that, while the hair grows on my shoulder from the Guinness. So anyway, y'all people have a wonderful evening. I love you all very much. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace, fools. I'm out.